This Restoration Today podcast is presented by Know How. Know How helps growing restoration companies standardize their operations so they can scale faster and more profitably without the chaos. As a leading process communication platform, Know How's mission is to help restoration companies unlock the full potential of their workforce. For more information, visit tryknowhow.com. Welcome to a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Hey, if you're liking what you hear, please leave us a review. We would really appreciate it.
Hey there, thanks for checking out this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I am very excited to be joined by a dear friend in the industry and somebody who's been part of some exciting news in recent weeks. I am excited to be joined by Warner Cruz, who's the president of JC Restoration, and his company recently merged with BluSky, which is a big deal. I had the pleasure of going to Warner's facility a few years ago now and touring it. It's massive and amazing, and his culture is amazing and all the things. So Warner, thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to just toss it over to you, and I'm hoping that you can kind of share a little bit about yourself and the journey of JC so far. I know it's been around since the 80s and started in a garage. So how did you get here?
Oh, Michelle, first of all, thank you so much for asking me to be on a podcast. This is my official first podcast ever. So I've been biting my fingernails all day, getting ready for this, not knowing what it's going to be like. So thank you for inviting me. And for the last, couple weeks, I probably felt like you did when you left R&R and then announced the CNR thing, where you knew but couldn't say anything to anybody. And same
so
thing
hard.
With me. It was so hard, but it feels so good to finally let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. And I'm so pleased to be part of the BluSky family. We made our official announcement last Monday. And it was very nerve-wracking preparing for that meeting. We called everyone in on Sunday night. So everyone was like, what is happening? People thought that I was upset. Maybe I was going to cancel our Christmas party that was coming up. They didn't know what was happening. So they all came in, and I had my mom and dad there, I had my kids there. And my dad and my mom went up there and kind of told a little bit of the story about when we started in 1982. And humble beginnings out of my parents' garage as a little kid coming home from getting dropped off the bus. I would open up the garage, and my mom and my dad and a couple workers were cleaning furniture out of the garage.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom would say, all right, let me make some lunch. And we would eat lunch together. And it was normal. It wasn't till later that I realized how profound it was that they really humble beginnings, and put all of my three sisters and I through school. And they never wanted us to be restorers. They never wanted us to be in this business. They wanted us to be doctors and lawyers and use our education to get to the next level. And, they sacrificed so that we could become professionals. And to live this American dream that we have lived in the last 2 weeks, with BluSky is just, like I said, I'm over the moon excited. I'm so happy. I feel so grateful. I've always counted my blessings, but I feel overwhelmed with God's grace, because it really is a dream come true. So my parents are good. We spoke a lot about, selling, and they were so happy because they worry about me so much. And now that it's done, every time I see them, my dad says, all right, so let's have a toast to you killing JCR. And I'm like, come on, Dad, we agreed that this was the best thing.
This is supposed to be great. Don't say that.
But it's great. We are so blessed, and things are good. BluSky, as I was mentioning to you before we started recording, they're amazing. They already referred us a significant loss out of their office in Atlanta here in Chicago. So it's beautiful that they never had a presence here in Chicago, but have a bunch of clients that have always wanted work done here. So we're kind of lucky in that respect.
Are you going to do any renaming, rebranding, or anything? Or are you staying JCR?
No, we're going to rebrand. BluSky, they were so good. They told me to take as much time as I wanted to. They realized the brand is solid here in Chicago. And as much as I contemplated it, I'm the type of guy that rip the Band-Aid off and let's go.
Yeah.
I want, now that I've taken off that hat and I put on a BluSky hat. And now it's about building that story. It's about telling a new story in Chicago under the BluSky name. So as much as I love the name and the brand, and it was really emotional. Our staff,
Sure.
guys like Pete Marrero, gosh, the hug that he gave me. It's sad, but it's also very exciting because Michelle, as leaders, we have to provide opportunities to our team, and we need to remove obstacles so that they can get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And during this process, I realized I was the obstacle. I was the one that was holding people back because I just didn't want to grow anymore. I mean, I admire owners that can run, huge companies. And our company was big, no doubt.
Yeah.
But that huge payroll every 2 weeks and all the 89 vehicles we have on the road and my name that's tied to everything, personally liable. I mean, it becomes this thing on your back that just never goes away. And I was constantly praying for God's grace and protection. And it's just so nice that now I can continue to grow something and not have to have that financial burden. It's very selfish in that respect for me, but the opportunities now that our people have with the BluSky family is awesome. I mean, it really is awesome.
And I don't think it's selfish. God paves the way for things like this. And you've been working for a long time toward this, right? And so this is what happens. It's good. So, all right. So I want to talk a little bit more about the culture of JC. I know that you're going to go through the rebrand, but your culture is amazing. I have used JC's culture as examples in presentations and stuff I've done because you guys so you've got this massive facility, you have bikes that people can take out, you have soccer fields, you have a party space that your people can use for family parties, and it's amazing. And how did you build that? How did you get there? What is the foundation of that? What's your secret to success for a culture like that?
I think it started with my parents' old boss. His name is Morton Eckman, and he has passed since. He had a company called Help Services. And my parents growing up, they ran the contents division for Help Services. My father did the first fire job with Help Services. Help Services was a janitorial company. And he came and asked my dad if we can clean up after a fire. And my dad did what most Latinos do and asked the question, of course we can. And so my dad and my mom, they started the contents division. And Morton Eckman was such a generous guy. He celebrated little successes. He had huge Christmas parties, and it was always around the children. So growing up, I remember Santa Claus at the Christmas events. I remember their picnics. There were live animals and there was rides and balloon tosses and just, I just always admired that in my dad's boss. And I remember him always spending the time talking to me and my sisters. In fact, we would go over and we knew their children, and it just was a connection. He was just such a decent person that it just instilled something in me that I didn't know was there until I had the opportunity to, and my dad, it was reflected on my dad, because when my dad decided to go on his own, he was the same way, very humble. Our Christmas parties were very humble, very simple. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, this Christmas party is nice, but it's not like Mort's parties, we got to do it that way. So when I had the opportunity, we always did things pretty big. And I always wanted to engage the spouses and the kids, because in this industry, we take those spouses away from their families. Yeah. When it's go time, it's late hours, it's out of town, it's cat runs, it's whatever it is. And the spouses and the kids are the ones that suffer. So it was important for me, whenever we get an opportunity to celebrate, together, they can see that their parents work for a pretty cool company, and there are tough times, and they're okay with that because it's in order to celebrate down the road, kind
of. How did you pick? I have to imagine you had multiple suitors, as you kind of used the word earlier. What was that process like? I mean, how I don't know if you want to share this, but how long have you had companies approaching you? I would imagine it's been for a while. So how in the world have you weeded through that and made the decision of what was best for JC?
233 emails I have in an inbox that I labeled suitors. And, since a couple years ago, I would just respectfully decline, not interested at this time, because I thought I'd be independent forever. COVID hit. We decided not to do any COVID cleaning. We decided to stick to what we knew was best. We got hit early on with sickness in our company, and one of our employees lost a father and a brother that used to work for us. So it just hit home real fast. So we didn't know what COVID was about yet, and we didn't know where it was going. So we decided to completely stay out of it. And then, but amidst all this COVID stuff that was happening in the world, these suitors kept emailing me. And then you start reading in your magazines and in other industry magazines of companies, friends of mine, that are being bought. And I'm calling them like, what happened? Like, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. So Phil Rosebrook Sr. reached out to me in the beginning of this year. He's always been one of my best friends in the industry, a mentor. And obviously I love his son, Phil, but Phil Sr. And I always had this connection. Well, he reached out to me and said, you should really, this was in the beginning of 2021, you should really consider, if there's any time to do it, this would be the time to at least explore your options. So that's what I did. I started asking people around me that I really trusted, who are the people that I should really consider. And then things led to other things. And then at these events, I remember one event, an RIA event, where it just became, it was like, that was the talk. I mean, there were all these meetings going on, and who was talking to who. And I felt I couldn't focus on the actual program because it was just all these meetings going on. But one of the things that was really important to me, that was great, and why I chose BluSky, was from the very beginning, we talked about opportunities for my team. It wasn't really about the money. I've always been blessed with a good business, and we've always been financially stable. And I knew the money would come, but it wasn't about the money. In fact, I turned down bigger offers than what I received. But to me, the better, the more important thing for me was the opportunities that BluSky offered my employees, and the things that I probably can't share, but they really do amazing things for my employees that always worked hard for me. And now they're engaged now in a much bigger organization. They have offices everywhere. And now my employees, if they ever want to move to Florida or to California or in Texas, they now can stay with, they now have job security. They now we had a 401k plan that I thought was pretty good. Man, BluSky kicks my butt with that stuff. The benefit, it's just a bigger company. So that was such a no-brainer. For my people to be able to not work less, but have more support. When we go into cat mode, gosh, our phones ring off the hook. And we can only rely on our friends that are out of state, that are available to come and help us. And when they can't help us because they're busy back at home, my salespeople are the ones that suffer, because they have to tell their clients no, which, Michelle, ultimately means money in their pocket that they're not going to be able to earn commission on. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So having BluSky and the support, the national support, and the people around us that can respond with equipment and resources, it's amazing. So a bunch of people reached out, and it was tough, because I don't want to have any enemies in the industry. And I knew that once we got it down to 4, I knew I was going to let 3 people down. And that was really hard for me, because these people I'm still going to be working with this industry. I love this industry.
Yep.
And but you know what? And that shows a true sign of someone with integrity and professionalism. They knew I had to make a decision, and it was great. And I have a special place in my heart for especially the last 3 suitors that we went down to the ninth inning with. And so no, it's been a great experience. Nerve-wracking, stressful. I'm glad it's over, and I'm really excited about the future.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the nerve-wracking part. How was due diligence and all of that part of it? I mean, did it feel like you were just like having your heart cracked open and it's like, here's everything that's ever happened in my life?
So I always, whenever there's a situation, I try to take the common sense approach. And the common sense approach is they're paying a lot of money for something. Mm-hmm. They deserve to get every document that they request. And I was fortunate enough to have a great CFO, George Lindbergh, my GM, Steve Ross. I mean, those guys are so on top of their game. We had to keep it secret, and they worked all through the night to provide the documentation. I mean, Michelle, thousands of pieces of paper scanned up for them to review. And on the other side, there are lawyers and accountants and staff they're looking at things much faster than we can put it up to the cloud for them to review. So they're, after looking at documents, they come back with other lists every night. Okay, now we need this. And Steve and George never lost their cool. I would have absolutely lost my cool if I was in their seat. So they had to do this work secretly while trying to handle their staff every day and act like nothing's going on. So I was really fortunate to have a good team around me to provide that. But what I would have never anticipated was the emotional roller coaster that I went through the last week. That the last day even, I got so angry. I cried. I laughed until my George, my CFO, came and grabbed me by the arm and says, "You need to get it together, man. we need to get this done." And I'll tell you, I made a call to Drew Bisping, the president of BluSky, mm-hmm. right before I signed all the documentation, just to have a conversation with him. And I don't know if you've ever met him.
I have not. He
is the coolest cat you'll ever meet. He's just calm, and he's a family man. He has kids the same age as my kids. I mean, 3 kids exactly the same age as my kids. And his calm voice and just, hey, what's going on? What can we talk through, whatever. And that's really, I don't know. It was just an emotional thing that I just went through. And later, everyone that I talked to says, that's, you should have expected that. Letting go was the hardest thing. The thought of, wow, it's over, just really messed with me, Michelle. And I never thought that it was going to mess with me like it did.
I don't know how it couldn't. You've built an amazing company with amazing people. Like, you're a destination that people want to work in Chicago. I mean, you're cutting yourself a little short there. I know JC enough to, I think, know that it's amazing and know enough of your team. But so is your role changing, or like, what does that look like for you?
So cool. So yes, I am. I've asked to be on the business development team. So now I'm one of those guys that are going to be reaching out to others, and I'm going to be put into a mailbox now as one of these suitors looking for prospects. BluSky has a goal to grow. Mm-hmm. And we're looking for companies with cultures like JC, like Harborough, like Sharp and Robbins, mm-hmm. like United Services, like, there's the owners that are all part of BluSky, the former owners, they had amazing cultures. Jeff Nyhauser at Minold, I mean, what a cool guy. And his company, that, we had a destination that you came to saw us and you got to experience our culture. There's tons of companies with similar culture that may not have the destination where people won't find out about them. But there are great leaders, great cultures out there. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for good companies that are profitable and they really care about their people, that want to, they want to create a new story with the BluSky team. And it's a heck of a story. So it's pretty exciting.
It is. How does it work when you're like a member of Restoration Affiliates and core group and things like that? Do those kinds of things stay in motion? Does that kind of stuff change? What does that look like?
I'm so sad I got booted from Restoration Affiliates today.
Because you're not like independent, right? It's all independence. Okay.
And I sent them an email with a picture of a little kitty cat that says, I need a hug, because I love that group. And it's a fantastic elite group of contractors. And we love being a part of it, but there's rules, and unfortunately, we couldn't be part of BluSky and part of that restoration. But it doesn't make them bad. No. They're a great organization. And in my email to them, that's pretty much what I said. I admire, I honor independent restorers.
Yep.
But my story was at its end. Like I said, I just could not handle. I turned down more work this year, big jobs that I know really upset people on my team. And I only did it selfishly because I just didn't want that financial burden. I didn't want to stress any more than I already was stressed. And so my story was, I need to move on. But they have great independent restorer stories that are going. And I want, the independent restorer that has a great culture and is profitable, they're always going to be wanted. Mm-hmm. So we need RA, we need Restoration Affiliate members. We're currently talking with CORE to see if it could work, me staying or not. And either way, Dan Casera is a friend of mine that I respect, and he's a professional, and we're going to have a tough conversation, but it's going to be professional in the end. We're going to virtually hug, and hopefully we'll still remain. I'll remain a core member, but if I'm asked, I can't, to leave because we can't, that's okay. We'll still be great friends.
Yeah, that's perfect. There's a lot of friends in the industry. I'm sure you have a ton of friends in RA as well. There's a lot of good, the friendships aren't going to change, right? They're still going to be here, whether you're BluSky or JC, or still Warner Cruz. That doesn't matter. All right. So what are some things that you think people should be paying attention to in the industry right now? I know that there's M&A, there's the hiring and retention. You've been part of the RA's AGA. Like, what are some things that other restorers need to be paying attention to right now?
Okay. So there's probably a lot of technology. There's probably a lot of, it is amazing how quickly things come onto the scene today. I can't keep up. And these last 3 months where this merger has been top of my mind, I've really not been able to keep up with the new stuff that's out there. And every company should have team members that's what they focus on. Mm-hmm. But what I will tell everyone, regardless if you're a mom and pop shop, if you're a big organization, you're new, you're old, focus on your culture. Be good to your employees. Speak from the heart. Have integrity. Be honest and admit when you're wrong. And if you build a culture in your organization that is based on a leader that they can trust, you're going to find new employees. Your employees are going to reach out to people that they trust and care about and say, hey, come and work for this organization because this leader is honest. He's not perfect, but he's honest. And so, when it seems like the talk is always, what do we do? It's so hard to find people. And my thought is, focus on your culture, and your best recruiters are your employees. Mm-hmm. They will find it's been like that for me. Our employees find people, and they tell them what to expect. And this business, you have to be built for this industry, for this type of work. Not everyone can do it. So your employees are your best recruiters. If you focus on that culture, it'll make life a lot easier for you, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. All right. Those were all of my questions. Do you have anything else that you want to add? You just like lumped in. My next question was on hiring and recruiting, and you just answered the questions. You lumped them all together for me. Thank you. So you have anything else you want to-
I think that, you know, it's amazing where our industry is today.
Mhm.
When I joined my dad and in 1986, Xactimate came out, the DOS version. And that was a big deal. And man, I was so good at that DOS version. And then throughout the years, just little things start changing. Now we have you that's constantly keeping us connected. We have so many great online videos, so many resources. If you're new to this industry, boy, what you have at your disposal, don't take it for granted. It is such a gift. But you could spend all day reading and watching videos and listening to podcasts. My recommendation, assign someone on your team and make it pay for that person to keep you in the loop of what's out there, because it is so much good information.
That's very smart, because there is a lot out there. And I've talked to people, there's a lot of noise as well. And so it can be hard to figure out what you need to be paying attention to and what's the right thing and all of that. So that is really good advice. Perfect. Well, Warner, congratulations on joining the BluSky family. That is very exciting. I look forward to seeing you hopefully at some shows in 2022. I'm sure I will. Good luck to you. And thanks for joining me. I'm glad that I was your first podcast, and I can't believe honestly that I was your first one.
I can't wait to give you a hug the next time I see you, Michelle. Thank you so much for asking me to be on.
Of course. My pleasure. Thanks, Warner.
For more Restoration Today, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, or find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts.